As a gamer who's extremely competitive, I'm always on the quest for a mouse that's better than what I'm using. Whether it's a lighter or heavier mouse, bigger or smaller, wired or wireless. Everyone has their preference, and this one is mine. Well, kind of, but we'll get to that. Meet the Razer Viper Mini and DeathAdders V2 Mini. Both of these mice are teeny tiny little wired gaming mice that makes my Razer Viper Ultimate sad because I've been using these minis more than my Viper Ultimate. And it's not just because I had to evaluate them for this review, but because there's actually a lot of things that I like more about these mini mice over its bigger and heavier counterpart. For example, as I just mentioned, the Razer Viper Ultimate is heavy, weighing in at 74 grams, whereas these minis weigh around 60 grams each, which means they're about 20% lighter, making it easier to flick because there's less weight you need to initially move and stop. This combined with their small size makes aiming, for me at least, noticeably easier than my Razer Viper Ultimate. It's not like my hands are small either. They're medium size at 7.5 inches tall from my wrist to the tip of my middle finger, 7.25 inches tall from my wrist to the tip of my index finger, and 4 inches wide with my fingers side by side. But for me, being able to wrap my hand around the entire mouse like a cocoon, rather than having to deal with a wider, longer, and taller mouse, makes handling this mouse a lot easier for me. Keyword, me. Keep in mind, even if you have the same sized hands as me, we all have different preferences and you may not agree. And speaking of handling, I found that I was able to hold these mice all types of ways. Well, mostly at least. For the Viper Mini, I had no issues holding this in palm, claw, or fingertip grip. The DeathAdders V2 Mini, on the other hand, wouldn't allow me to fingertip grip because of the big arch on the left side of the mouse. Every time I tried gaming with fingertip grip, no matter how reasonably hard I gripped the mouse, after a few seconds of moving my mouse around quickly, my thumb just slipped towards the lowest point of the arch, making my hand go into a fingertip grip. However, that's not to say that the design is bad, because turns out it was much more comfortable to use for longer periods because of the right tilt. So for you ergonomic fanatics out there, well, first of all, this is probably not your first choice for a mouse, but for a gaming mouse, you'll enjoy this much more because this is better both short term, as it feels more natural to hold, but also long term because it's probably just better for your wrist and your forearm. Unfortunately for the DeathAdders, that benefit in daily comfort turned out to be a disadvantage for my aim in particular. This is not like my aim went dramatically worse, but it definitely wasn't as good as it was with the Viper Mini. Whether it's because of the tilt, the arch on the left side of the mouse, or something else, I have no clue. All I know is that I prefer the Viper Mini for competitive gaming when compared to the DeathAdders V2 Mini. Also, real quick, while we're on the subject of aim and precision, there is something you guys should know. Now, some of you already know this, but a lot of people thanked me for this in my other mice reviews, so I'm going to mention it here just in case you guys aren't familiar. Both mice use the Pixart PWM3359 sensor with a low DPI of 200 and a max of 8500, though you should probably never go that high. Actually, I don't recommend it at all. It's very accurate and has almost no acceleration, if at all, as long as you have Windows pointer position turned off. To check if yours is off or on, click on the Windows search menu, search for mouse settings, click additional mouse options, click on the pointer options tab, and make sure enhanced pointer precision is off. This turns off all acceleration, making your mouse perform consistently all the time rather than Windows interfering, doing what it thinks you want it to do. Back to the mice, both mice have Razer's Triple Snake logo and are RGB. The Viper takes it to another level by adding RGB to the bottom rear of the mouse, giving you better aim and 20% more FPS. Both mice look almost identical to their bigger brothers, except with no rubber texture, which is both a good and a bad thing depending on who you are. Bad as in some people just like it, and good as in there's no rubber that'll wear out over time, which is not a matter of if it'll happen, but when. So this should hold up better over time. Both mice have 6 programmable buttons, including 2 side buttons, a DPI button, a scroll wheel click, and a left and right mouse click. You can also change the scroll wheel up and down function to give you a total of 8 different functions. The Viper Mini is kind of ambidextrous, but not really? It's symmetrical, but only has side buttons on the left side of the mouse and doesn't stick out too much where I'm accidentally clicking them all the time. In fact, I haven't even had that happen yet. The DeathAdders V2 Mini, on the other hand, or in this case, same hand, is a right-handed mouse only, with again, the side buttons being on the left side of the mouse. Even though they pop out ever so slightly more than a Viper Mini, I still had no accidental click issues. The DeathAdders V2 Mini includes anti-slip grips for both sides of the mouse, as well as the left and right click buttons. If you already have this mouse and you're wondering where your grips are, it's hiding in the quick guide. As I mentioned earlier, these switches are optical, so you shouldn't have any double click issues, which I did not. But we'll see how that holds up over time, being that all my Razer products fell apart with the exception of the Viper Ultimate so far, though I've only had that for 7 months, I think. The feel and sound on all buttons, as well as the scroll wheel, sound very good, not cheap, and have the right amount of tactility. Both mice have 100% PTFE feet, which I didn't know what that meant until I Googled it. Basically, they're Teflon, which is a synthetic polymer that has a low coefficient of friction, which basically just allows you to move your mouse around smoothly with more predictable control, at least to an extent. Your mousepad also makes a difference, and I will be making a video about mousepads sometime in the future, so if you're not already, get subscribed if you don't want to miss that. Now remember in the beginning where I said everyone has their preference, and this one is mine. Well, kind of, but we'll get to that. Well, the cable that these mini mice use is Razer's SpeedFlex cable. It feels and looks good, but this is one of the big drawbacks for me. I personally can't stand cables on mice no matter how light or free-flowing it's advertised. I'm just super sensitive to them. Though I've heard Razer SpeedFlex isn't as good as other mice like the Glorious mice with their Model O's, so I'll check those out in the future to see what's up. Regardless, because of my DPI of 400 and my sensitivity is low, 0.5 for CSGO and Valorant, I need the right amount of cable coming from my cable bungee so I can move my mouse all around my mouse pad without it building up into a pile of wires. But even with that, when the cable hits something like my monitor's legs, I feel that feedback through the mouse and it just throws me off. Now this may sound nitpicky, but like I said, I'm super sensitive to wires, and I'm sure some of you, while it may be a minority, are as well. If Razer released a Viper Mini Ultimate on the other hand, where it's wireless, kept the exact same dimensions and weight, I think we would have the best mouse ever. Razer, if you're watching, get on that. You probably already know though. Then lastly, we have Razer's Synapse software. I won't go too in depth, but you can adjust any of the 6 buttons and the 2 scroll directions like I mentioned earlier. You can set your DPI and polling rate and set your lighting. That's about it. Now I hope I didn't miss anything, but I probably did, and I'm sure you guys will let me know. But as for now, what do I think of these mini mice? Well, if you want the TLDW, just buy it. They're fantastic performers, especially for the price. For the slightly longer version, the sensor performs extremely well. They're cheap, they're extremely light, which is ideal for flicking, and I actually prefer the size over the Viper Ultimate. Some people won't agree though, so don't take this as gospel. For those that are trying to go professional, or if you just don't have a massive budget, these mini mice are amazing little beasts. And if you don't mind getting a small mouse, I think we have some of the best, if not the best small mice on the market, at least for now. I haven't checked out its competition, so I can't really say. I'll be checking the Glorious mice as well as some of its other competition, but for now, if this is one of your options, I see no reason why you should be second guessing yourself, especially if you're able to take advantage of a return policy. Before this video ends, I want to give a quick shout out to I Can Poop Twice a Day, yay. It's not like he did anything special, but apparently he turned off recommendations for my channel and still kept getting them. Basically, he can't escape me. But I'm not doing this in every video like he asked, because that would just be dumb. And after this, he's going to unsubscribe and report me. But oh well, this is just for fun. So here's your shout out, I Can Poop Twice a Day, yay. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like. If you disliked it, support the channel by leaving a dislike. If you want to buy any of the stuff I featured in this video, check out the links in the video description. Don't forget to follow me on my socials, which are in the pinned comment down below. And as always, have a great day, every day. Peace.